friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Mary Catherine, and today I'm going to talk about some fleece I've been working on. It's the brown alpaca fleece that I got very raw, very dirty, had mouse poop in it. It required a lot of processing, washing carefully. When you wash fleece like that, you have to be so gentle so that it doesn't felt. And I made that mistake the first time, so I corrected it in the second time I tried to wash some. You can't actually pour any water directly on the fleece when it's in the sink. You cannot agitate it in any way. You only can just gently press it down into the water and let it sit for 30 minutes and then gently lift it up and take it out and put it into some clean water over and over again. It's very time consuming. And I ended up, let me show you. I ended up the big old bag. This is actually only part of it. I've already processed some, as I'll show you. A big bag of very clean, very beautiful alpaca fleece. And I'm going to pause for a second and show you a photograph of it drying on the expandable screen that my husband bought at the hardware store. This is my brown alpaca fleece that I have picked and washed. And now I've laid it out to dry on the screen. Adam says it looks like beef jerky. YouTube friends, I'm working with my brown fleece in so many different stages. Here is the just been cleaned and dried stage where I have it on this nice screen. This is a screen my husband got at the hardware store that opens up to double this width. It slides open and it's really good for drying fleece. So this has been washed and dried, but it's just a mound. And that's a lot of fleece. Then I have a good bit in a bag, a very large plastic bag. I also have some on my hackle. Take the cover off of that. So I have a little bit there, a little bit on the desk I'm working from. And then I've also started spinning some. So here is the dark brown single ply yarn. And I'll be adding to that bobbin, doing another bobbin, plying them together to get some nice brown yarn. So there's the alpaca brown so far. So after combing that lovely fleece and dizzing it into roving and spinning it, I had a lot of fun plying it. And I'm going to show you a little video of that right now and let you enjoy the plying, the chain plying. Hey YouTube friends, I'm doing something kind of scary this morning. I've heard about something called chain plying, and I wanted to ply this alpaca. I hope you can see. I'm not looking at the camera. I hope you can see this. I wanted to ply this alpaca that I've been spinning. It's really thin though, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a 3-ply instead of just a 2-ply? Then I heard about this method where you ply off of just the single. And you do it by making these really huge, like foot-long chain stitches, basically, if you've ever done crocheting. And so I'm feeding it into the orifice and back onto here. This is the triple. See, here's what it looks like as a triple. And there's what it looks like as a single. Can you see? And as I do it, I have to make these chain stitches with this hand, my right hand. And this is not a tutorial because I've only just started doing this about 5 minutes ago and it's terrifying, but I'm videotaping it because I think it's so cool. So here we go. Let's see if I can do it again. So you pull through, you have to feed this in and keep this hand tight, and then you pull that single through the loop that you've made. You keep your hand kind of open down here so you can grab that single again. And see, I'm making giant, it's a chain stitch. It's just a big loop that you pull your source yarn through. But you have to, as you're making these big chains, you have to remember to pedal, and you have to remember to feed your triple ply into the orifice and not just hang on to it because you don't want to let it go because you're so terrified. You know, I'm beginning to think that if I can learn how to spin well, which involves using your hands and your feet at the same time, that maybe I could eventually learn how to play the organ, which is something I really never did do. I just never thought I could get my feet and my hands to work at the same time. Piano, yes. Organ, terrifying. So remember, this is not a tutorial. If you want a good tutorial, there are some out there. There's really good spinners who do a good job. Can you see those? See, here's one of the joints. I'm coming up to it. And then I'm going to drag this one through. It's not hard. You do need to keep an eye on your twist to make sure that you're getting enough twist. And I'm amazed that this single ply that I spun off of that alpaca fleece hasn't broken yet. Because some of it's kind of fat, some of it's kind of thin. It's not what you would call an elegant yarn, but I'm telling you, this alpaca, this brown alpaca, is the softest fiber I think I have ever spun. After spinning the Shep's wool, this stuff is just so soft. All I could think of was, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have a hat or a scarf out of this, because then the yarn next to your face wouldn't be scratchy. It's kind of hard to grab. Other people have a better technique for, of course, everybody has a better technique at this, because I am, what did the British say? I'm rubbish at this. Just have to pull this through before you get down to that little knot. I'm getting kind of close to the end of my bobbin. That's why I wanted to, oh gosh. Okay, Lisa, if you're watching, you see that? Oh, I wasn't watching. Oh, this is nice, strong. I love this yarn. All right. Getting started again and figuring out this stuff. This is a little bit like playing those yarn games when you were a kid, you know, the cat's cradle and teacup and all those things. If you can do that with your right hand, you can do this, okay? Nope, don't go that way. I love this kind of plying, this chain plying. I can get into this. And you know, it means that you don't have to reserve all 3 of your bobbins that came with your spinning wheel just to ply one type of yarn, because this just takes 2. It takes the one that your single is on and the one that you're empty when you're putting it onto. You see how I sometimes kind of forget about feeding that in there? I get distracted with my other hand. You know, I would have been a better spinner when I was 30 than I am at this age, but it is what it is. You do have to watch out for it. It's, oh, there we are. There's the end. Ooh, wait, hang on. Okay, looks like I'm about to go the right way. My spinning wheel and I are still learning about each other. And this is the other thing, is you can make your ply come out perfectly. Isn't that amazing? I don't have any more little leftover ply, so I'm going to snip the loop, snip the attachment to that other leader down there, tie this in a knot. Now this will be pretty twisty. It looks very twisty, but they tell me on the YouTubes that after I steam it or wash it or whatever, and then set the twist. I'm banging it on the wall. I need to show you all that one time. That it'll be a balanced yarn. It won't be twisted. Okay. I don't know if the camera will work here. Hey guys. So that's chain plying with me. Just learning how. See you later. Well, the plying was fun, and I was so excited about my new yarn, and it was a beautiful thickness. I took it off of the spool and I put it onto my nitty knotty, and then I took it off of the nitty knotty, and it was this nice hank. And the next thing to do was to steam it. And when I steam my yarn, which is important to do, some people wash it, some people steam it. Anyway, I put it in this little steamer. Actually, I use a deeper pot on the bottom, but this one will do. You put some water in this, and this is a really nice steamer, okay? It's not one of those little junky collapsible steamers. This is really nice. And I took my, here it is, okay, took my, it wasn't a huge hank, and put it in there, and I put it on the stove under like medium heat so it would steam. And I went back into my studio and thought, oh, I'll go check on it in 15 or 20 minutes. But in the meantime, I will warp up my loom because I wanted to get lots done this week because I'm quarantined at home after having a COVID test because I have surgery tomorrow. That's a different issue. Anyway, trying to be productive. And so I came back in my studio and I warped up my loom, and I'm going to show you what I warped up. Let me show you the little bit of weaving I'm working on right now. So that's the weaving, and that was fun, very fun, until I heard my husband's voice from the kitchen say, "Mary Catherine, are you cooking something?" This was like over an hour later, okay? It was quite a while later. And so I went, ah! And I went back in the kitchen, and not only had I boiled the pot dry, long dry, because you don't put a lot of water in for steaming, I had also heated this up enough so that it was actually, in many places, it was stuck to the bottom of this, to the inside of this steamer. And I had to very gingerly take a little wooden spoon and try to remove it. And that worked, I thought. But what I realized was that over steaming, cooking my hand spun, beautiful chain plied hand spun yarn, had broken it in many places. And so now, instead of one long, beautiful skein of yarn, I have yarn that's broken, and it's my own fault. I will never, ever, ever leave yarn steaming on the stove again without setting a timer for myself. That was stupid because I'm old enough to have a very bad memory, and things go straight out of my head. And some of you are my age and you understand this. Things that would never have happened to you when you were 30 happen to you now. So I have some really damaged yarn. I could still use this to weave with because lots of ends like that don't really matter when you weave. You just weave them right in. If you're trying to knit or crochet, you're going to have lots of knots, and that's going to look terrible, but you don't knot when you weave. At least I don't knot. So I'll use it to weave, but I do view this brown alpaca as fleece to learn on. I got it for pretty much for free. And so I'm not worried that I have wasted some because I haven't wasted my time. I've learned a lesson. That's a lot of work to end up, it really is, to end up with broken yarn. And that's a little painful, but it'll never happen again. But I did learn how to chain ply, and I think that's maybe the most valuable thing I learned. So don't overcook your yarn if you go to all the trouble to make it that I did. All right, thanks so much for listening to me complain. Oh, I also wanted to mention 2 cards that I painted yesterday. I need to paint more cards. I just can't seem to get around to it. So here's a big sunflower card. I really like the center. That was all done with salt into the slightly moist pigment. There's also salt in some of the rest of this, but you can see it if you get up close, the effect of the salt. But in the center, it really worked. And I love the blue band. That was kind of on a whim. And the other one I did is this one, some pretty blue flowers. I really like that washy effect. So that's what I've been painting lately.